Nice to see everyone who joined us today. A good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to all, wherever you're watching us right now. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Tess Vasquez, or Teacher Tess for short to our students. I graduated with a master's degree from Aberdeen University in Scotland, UK, and completed my Cambridge CELTA qualification for teachers in Edinburgh, the capital city of Scotland. I've been teaching OET for 7 years now, and I'm the lead trainer for SGR Focus Training, which is a company based in both Scotland and in two locations in the Philippines, namely the provinces of Aklan and Iloilo. SGR is an OET premium preparation provider in both countries and the first and only premium preparation provider in the Philippines. We offer OET training mostly to nurses, doctors, pharmacists, occupational therapists, and other healthcare professionals who require our support in preparing for the OET exam. For those who are joining us today, may I ask if you could share your name, where you're from, and whether you're preparing for OET as a doctor, nurse, pharmacist, or any other remaining professions who take OET. Perhaps share your challenges in reading and Part B in particular. I'll give you a few moments to input that in the chat. Thank you. This will give us a chance to understand a little bit more about your needs and your background. I think we're okay to start now. For those who have just joined us, again, my name is Tess. I'm the lead trainer of SGR Focus Training, a company based in the UK and in the Philippines. Joining me in the chat is Teacher Grace, who will be answering your questions over chat. For today's lesson, we'll be looking at an overview of reading with particular attention to reading part B and how to understand main ideas. Then we'll discuss strategies for identifying main ideas in a single paragraph. And if we have time, we'll also show you how to identify main ideas in multiple paragraphs. You will also learn the different techniques for finding main ideas in each short text. Finally, we'll do some practice to check for understanding. By the end of this lesson, you will learn how to identify the different question types in reading part B. Learn how to use different strategies and techniques for identifying main ideas and be able to improve your speed reading skills. Let's start with the overview of reading. Please let us know in chat if you've taken the OET exam before or are currently taking some lessons in OET reading. Which part do you struggle with? Or if you're new to the OET, is it clear what's expected? The OET reading subtest is the second test of the day. For those who have taken the exam before, what are the three parts of OET reading? Yes, it consists of three unique parts. You have your part A, part B, and C, with a total of 42 questions to answer in 60 minutes. The first test in reading is part A. This consists of 20 questions that needs to be answered in 15 minutes. The second part of your reading test is part B and part C. Part B has 6 short texts with 3 multiple choice answer questions. Part C will have 2 long texts with 8 questions each and 4 multiple choice answer questions. Parts B and C should be completed in 45 minutes. Now, why is part A separate from part B and part C? Well, part A requires speed reading skills, which means absorbing information quickly and might imply a trade off between speed and comprehension. On the other hand, part B and C requires reading for comprehension. We concentrate on understanding comprehensive texts, finding main ideas, gist, purpose, answering lexical questions, inferring meaning, and identifying points of view. Intensive reading prioritizes comprehension above speed, hence, part B and C are separate from A. If you find reading challenging, you may be asking yourself, what can I do well in the test? Some of you have taken the test maybe X number of times. If anyone finds B a challenge and may be finding reading tricky, there's a few things you can do to improve your reading skills. Surround yourself with English. I know how easy it is to speak in your own language if you're around family or friends, but the more you use English to read, listen, and speak, the quicker you will improve. Secondly, read more and read consistently in English. At the end of the class, we will share some links to help you practice reading. Learn with an OET premium provider. We're trained by OET to ensure we have the knowledge and tools needed to run high quality preparation courses. Watch lessons from OET and your all stars teachers to learn new strategies and techniques to help you improve and have a higher chance of passing the test. In this lesson, we'll teach you reading for comprehension, focusing on identifying main ideas in reading part B. So let's get things started. Reading part B is made up of 6 short texts, approximately 100 to 150 words each. The texts are not related to each other and will cover several different topics related to healthcare. For each text, you must answer one 3 option multiple choice question. That is, choose between options A, B, or C. Reading part B requires you to identify and understand the main point, purpose, or a particular detail of a short text. This will depend on the focus of each question, which you'll need to identify before reading the text. This means reading part B requires deeper reading and comprehension of the text to be able to select the correct answer. You get a total of 45 minutes to complete reading parts B and C. This means you have to manage your time very carefully. As reading part C is longer and slightly more complex, spending too much time on reading part B means that you might run out of time to complete reading part C. We suggest spending about 10 to 12 minutes on reading part B, no more than 2 minutes per text per question. As a health professional, you need to read a range of different texts in the workplace. In a single shift, you may need to refer to a hospital policy, a memo, your email, a notice, or a guideline, and more. This workplace communication are there to help you work according to standard and to keep you up to date with workplace requirements. OET Reading Part B uses these types of text to assess your ability to identify main ideas, purpose, and detail. OET Reading Part B tasks reflect the real world skill of understanding what needs to be done in response to a workplace text. Part B uses extracts from these common workplace communication to test your ability to read for purpose, to understand why the text has been written. The purpose question is going to be asking you, what is the purpose of the text? Why was it written? And what will the reader have to do after reading the text? Samples of these purpose type questions are You will also be tested for your ability to read for detail, to recognize important information within the text, and to identify main ideas or the overall message or point of an extract. In a main idea type question, or gist, which are our main topic for today, it looks at the overall message or point of an extract. What is the main topic? What is being discussed? What are they talking about? The questions you may encounter could include: the policy document tells us that the healthcare professionals, the manual informs us that, the extract from the guidelines states that, what point does a training manual make about? Words synonymous to the word tell, such as what is the policy document telling us, what is the manual inform us, what is the extract stating, and what point does the text make, point you to a main idea type of question. Synonyms for the word important also signify a main idea, like what is vital, what is the priority. Now, let's take a look at the strategy for reading Part B. In a Part B context, the question and text are all on the same page. There will be a question prompt at the top, which tells you the topic of the text and what type of text you'll be asked to read. The three multiple choice answer options are in the middle with a short text at the bottom. Your job is to pick the best answer by shading the letter with your pen or pencil. To do this, we'll follow the QTA strategy, or question, text, answer strategy. This means starting with a question, then reading the text before finally looking at the answer option. Again, your job is ultimately to find the best answer by shading the letter with your pen or pencil. While using the strategy, you can also use various techniques to help you along the way. What techniques do you think would be useful in finding answers in a main idea question? On your screen are some of these techniques. All the techniques can be helpful. A, the first sentence of a text, sometimes called the topic sentence, may give you a preview of what the content or explain what the text is about. The last sentence may contain a summary or transition to the next paragraph. Repeated words and phrases usually indicate the focus of a text, while writers use strong words to emphasize important points, such as must, all, never, important. By looking at contrast words, such as but, however, and although, highlight important differences between ideas. Reference words are helpful in ensuring that we include certain sentences to read to understand meaning. And conjunctive adverbs, such as furthermore, additionally, therefore, these are vital for communication because they bridge the gap from one idea to another. Without them, sentences and clauses would switch topics too abruptly, making things more difficult for the reader. Additionally and furthermore continues the same idea. Therefore shows the result or consequence. There are more functions of conjunctive adverbs, and this will be a good one for you to learn to improve your reading skills. Let's have a look at the reading part B question with one paragraph using the QTA strategy, or question text answer strategy. Step one, as our strategy suggested, we read the question first. We read, and most importantly, we understand what the text is asking. You will notice that the question informs that the text is a policy document. What is a policy? Yes, a policy is a set of guidelines, in this instance, a set of clinical guidelines. A policy is also a statement of intent and is implemented as a procedure or protocol. When you read the text, you can expect to read information that includes procedures, what to do, what not to do, or company protocols. We now know what kind of text we're going to read. Let's now identify the question type. Is it a main idea, a purpose, or a detail? Please type your answer on the chat. What do you think? What word can you identify that tells us what type of question this is? Yes, this is a main idea question. We know this because it used the phrase, what point? So OET wants us to find out what the clinical guidelines is telling us about their protocols or procedure. What does the text mean? What is the text trying to say? Where's the text going with this? What's the core of what the text is saying? What is the text telling us? These are all the possible questions for a main idea. Step two, we're now going to read the text or extract in more details. Keep in mind the question that you need to answer while reading the text. When you survey the text, you will notice that our text has a title, and there's only one paragraph to read. In the context of the types of articles and documents used in OET reading tests, a paragraph is a set of sentences, usually between 100 and 250 words in all, that combines to present a single idea or a set of facts. A paragraph typically consists of a topic sentence. In the topic sentence, which is usually but not always the first sentence, the topic or focus of the paragraph should be presented. The topic sentence serves as a focal point, signposting the content of the whole paragraph. By previewing to the reader what the paragraph deals with, the topic sentence should make the following text easier to read. Now, let's take a look at the rest of the sentences. So we have supporting sentences. The main part of the paragraph consists of what are often called supporting sentences or development. This is where the argument or information that explains and or proves the topic sentence is to be found. At the end of the paragraph, there should be a concluding or transition sentence which sums up the argument or information in the main part of the paragraph and may also create a link or transition to the next paragraph. A transition provides the text with a smoother flow between paragraphs. The first line in a paragraph may be a transition from the previous paragraph, which moves the topic sentence to second place. So let's focus on the first sentence, keeping in mind that this is the topic sentence, which tells you what the whole paragraph is all about. What do you think the first sentence is telling us? I'll give you a moment to have a quick read. All right. We can see here that the subject of this paragraph is all about the development, introduction, and use of guidelines. And we can see that it talks about how it is intended to ensure consistent care to all patients and to reduce risk of errors and incidents. There's also an additional information here that this is done through ensuring the whole clinical team is working in an informed, consistent, and clearly understood way. So the sentence is all about the use of clinical guidelines and why we have to follow it. Then we move on to the second sentence. I'll give you a moment to have a quick read. Now, this one talks about the policy and what its aims are. And we can see here that the policy aims to ensure that clinical guidelines are developed and agreed. It's to keep all key staff involved, as well as informed, and to reflect best practice. If it were a purpose type question, this sentence will help you to identify what is the purpose of the policy. That's right. The word aim is related to the purpose of the text. Hence, this could be a purpose type question. Now we move on so that we can take a look if there are any other parts of the paragraph that will give us the main idea or the gist. In sentence 3, we see the keyword important. Again, I'll give you a moment to have a quick read. This sentence is highlighting the fact that it's important to recognize that clinical guidelines are not mandatory and are not a substitute for clinical judgment. So there are two things which are being stated with regards to clinical guidelines, and that is the fact that it's not mandatory and they're not a substitute for clinical judgment. What does mandatory mean? Right, that's correct. Mandatory means required, or it is a rule, or it is compulsory. This sentence also tells us that clinical guidelines are not a substitute for clinical judgment, and therefore, clinical judgment would take precedence over clinical guidelines. It further means that medical professionals have a responsibility to make decisions appropriate to their patient's circumstances. Again, this is a reminder that the clinical guidelines should not replace your professional judgment. The next sentence in the text contains a contrast word, however. Again, I'll give you a moment to have a quick read. With the word however, this signifies that the sentence is moving to another idea. What happens when the guidelines are not followed? This is no longer the main idea, but a sub-idea, and is more suited to a detailed question. The next one used the reference pronoun this. Again, I'll give you a moment to have a quick read. Remember that the reference or the use of reference means that the writer is referring to the topic or the subject that was previously mentioned. So it signifies that this sentence is connected to the previous sentence, which is the sub idea. So the situations here that it's referring to are the situations where the guidelines are not followed. And it tells us what needs to be done when these are not or do not happen. So this sentence is still about when guidelines are not followed. What do you think about this next sentence? Let's have a read. That's right. The last sentence also contains the reference pronoun this or this instances, which again signifies that this sentence is connected to the previous sub-idea sentence and not part of the main idea. This is still talking about situations where guidelines are not followed and what should be done. Therefore, we only focus on the first and third sentence to tell us about the main idea. This is all about clinical guidelines that we need to remember that this is not mandatory and we need to use our clinical judgment whenever necessary. We then move to step 3, and that is to read the answer option. Our aim is to eliminate options that are clearly incorrect and were not mentioned in the text. Let's take a quick look at each of the options. You will notice that each option starts with a reference word, their, they, or them, and all referring to the topic of clinical guidelines. So what it means is that the clue or the answer would lie in the second part of each option. Now, let's take a look at option A and see what is the information that we need to find evidence of in the text. This option states that their content, meaning the content of the clinical guidelines, must be approved by all relevant staff. If we take a look at the topic sentence and the part where we found a main idea, we don't have any evidence here about the content needing to be approved by all relevant staff. Although key staff is mentioned in the second sentence, this is in the context that the aim of the policy is to keep all key staff involved and informed, as well as reflecting best practice. And therefore, we can eliminate letter A. It's incorrect because the text never mentioned that relevant staff must approve the content. That leaves us with option B and option C. Now, if we take a look at option B, okay, again, it says they are, again, referring to the clinical guidelines. Let's take a look at what option B is saying about clinical guidelines. It's saying that it's a set of recommendations rather than regulations. A set of recommendations, and if we take a look at the two parts of the text that we've highlighted initially, Could there be a synonym of a set of recommendations? We could see here that in the middle part where we've highlighted that clinical guidelines are not mandatory, which means that they are optional, they are recommendations, and that they're not a substitute for clinical judgment, and therefore they are not regulations, then option B is looking to be possibly the answer for this question. Now, in order for us to be confident that it's B, let's take a look at C to try to eliminate this option. It says ignoring them, again referring to clinical guidelines. And it's talking about it's likely to result in disciplinary action. Now, there is nothing on the text that talks about disciplinary action and how this disciplinary action is going to result from ignoring clinical guidelines. Therefore, C is incorrect. By process of elimination, it is therefore B, which should be the right answer. Okay, again, let's look for the evidence and find out why this is the answer we need to choose. Mandatory means it's not a regulation or a requirement. It is only a suggestion or recommendation, and therefore can be optional. And that matches with the information being offered by option B. Remember that your answer must follow evidence-based reasoning. This option is correct if the answer option has the same meaning as the text. I think we still have some time to do one more practice. So remember, all the techniques can be helpful. As you practice using each one, you'll start to notice or which techniques work for different types of texts. Now, let's take a look at this next question. Okay. I'll give you 2 minutes to have a read of the question, understand the question, to read the text, and look at the answer options to eliminate and eventually find the best answer. You have 2 minutes. Okay. Now, which word or phrase from the question do you think confirms that this is the main idea? That's right. That's the one which is highlighted, which is the word reminding. So, reminding anything that you're being asked to remember must be important. And therefore, this must be a main idea question. Right. Okay. So, the question is asking this memo is reminding pharmacists about. Okay. And we could see that it shows us an extract of the memo. And this memo is for all staff. And this is regarding pharmacy incidents and errors. Now, let's take a look at the first sentence. The first sentence talks about several subjects, and that is dispensing errors, significant errors, omissions, incidents, non-compliance, including complaints of a non-commercial nature, may be the subject of investigation. So all these errors, okay, it's being described as maybe subject of the investigation. So the first, okay, again, the first sentence stated that pharmacy incidents and errors may be subject to investigation. Now let's take a look at the next sentence. But before we do, notice that we have strong words such as subject of investigation. Now let's take a look at the next sentence. We can see that the next sentence starts with pharmacists should therefore. Okay, right. So this conjunctive adverb therefore informs us that because the following errors, as mentioned above, and omissions or incidents may be the subject of investigation, this is now telling us that pharmacists need to follow risk management procedure and record keeping. So because of these, as the reason for being the subject of investigation, the next sentence is telling us what pharmacists should therefore do. Now, okay, we could also see that the next sentence here where it says the record is to show when the incident was recorded, when it occurred, who was involved, both actual and alleged, the nature of the incident or complaint, what actions were taken, and any conclusions. So this is talking about the record keeping, okay, and what it's supposed to show. You will see here that the word recorded, okay, has been repeated again on this part where it says if contact was made with third parties such as government departments, prescribers, lawyers, or professional indemnity insurance companies, details of the conversation should be recorded. So again, some things that should be recorded, okay, as pharmacists follow a risk management procedure. Now let's take a look at the last sentence. It says there as well, or the last two sentences, regardless of how serious the incident may appear, comprehensive detailed records need to be kept. So again, it's a reminder that regardless of how serious this incident is, it is expected that a comprehensive detailed records is kept. The last sentence tells us how many years the record must be kept, and that is for 3 years. And then we have the connector because that tells us the reason why it is to be kept for 3 years, and the reason being the delayed nature of some forms of litigation. Okay, so now, okay, if we take a look at the first option, okay, it says, it talks about the rationale. The next option talks about the procedure. And the next option talks about the method. So the rationale means it gives us a reason. Okay. Whereas for B, if B is correct, it gives us a procedure, what to do. Similarly, C will also give us a procedure or a method. Now, if we go back to A, the rationale that we are expecting the text to give us is the reason why incidents and errors are to be documented. Whereas for B, the procedure or what to do that we are expecting to find on the text is the procedure for investigating incidents and errors. What you will remember is that although there are information about what to record in should these incidents or errors happen, there's no mention about the procedure of what to do to investigate these types of incidents and errors. And therefore, B is not correct. There's no evidence on the text that we are able to find procedures for investigating. For option A, we do have the reason or the rationale for documenting incidents and errors, and that is mentioned in the first sentence or the topic sentence, because these errors and incidents may be the subject of investigation, and thus pharmacists should follow a risk management procedure, which includes appropriate record keeping. So A looks to be the best answer. Now let's try to eliminate C, so we could definitely pick A. It says the method, okay? So what to do? And it's talking about for submitting incidents and error reports. So is it giving us a particular way of submitting incident and error reports? Again, similar to B, there is no procedure, okay, where it tells us how incident and error reports are to be submitted. And therefore, the correct answer is going to be A. All right. Okay. Okay. I think those two questions, okay, are the practices that we will be able to complete for today's session. I hope you've enjoyed the session from SGR Focus Training. If you find OET reading a challenge and you feel that the strategies you learned today can really help you to tackle this very challenging subtest, then please do let us know how we can help. We do offer intensive classes for reading one-to-one. We also have a group reading intensive class. You can also do a self-study online reading intensive, and also we provide reading mock tests. For our one-to-one class, this is a personalized service based on our assessment of your strengths and weaknesses. We interview every student to find out what their previous reading scores were, or we ask you to take a reading mock test for a detailed assessment. We then design the class based on your needs. This is typically 45-minute and a 45-minute class, and can sometimes extend to 1-hour lessons just between you and your teacher. As mentioned, you can choose what you would like to study, or you follow our advice. As this is a one-to-one class, you can choose the time and day of classes. For each class, you get access to OET Pass. This is SGR's very own learning management system, where you get practice activities, homework, and mock tests to keep you practicing. Lastly, each homework and mock tests are corrected and given comprehensive feedback, so you know whether you're improving or if you need to do more for your particular weak points. For those who wish to join our groups, we offer a class for a minimum of 3 to a maximum of 10 students. You can choose to attend all, listening, reading, writing, and speaking, or simply attend the sessions you feel you need the most. Each class starts with a tutorial, followed by live practice, and then discussion so you can understand why the answer is right and why the answers are wrong. Our classes are held on weekdays with the weekend focus on answering your homework or practice activities via OET Pass. All our students have access to their courses within the learning management system. Our fundamentals of OET is free to all SGR students, which gives them the basics of the test. From here, they can choose the course they want. So the course will open up with a list of topics on the left side of your screen. You can study them chronologically or click on a separate area you wish to know about on week one, which is about the basics. So the lesson opens up whether it's a video, a text, or PDF material, or any of our multimedia interactive lessons to help you learn, practice, and improve. For SGR one-to-one and group students, you get to watch all recorded videos of your classes, read and download the comprehensive feedback assessment for each of your homework and mock tests. To get in touch, please simply chat with us on WhatsApp or get to know what we have to offer by going through our website. Thank you very much and good luck in your exam. Okay. Again, any questions, we have our QR code there for WhatsApp and we have another QR code for our website. Thank you, everyone, and hope you have a good day. All the best to everyone. Bye for now.